What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream, a surprise live stream. I don't think Cody or either one of us thought that we were going to be doing this tonight, but Cody's game got canceled that he was coaching for. So he's like, hey, let's just hop on a live. There's not much else going on. And I'm still, and I don't know about you, Cody, but I'm still kind of riding the high of that win last Sunday. So I feel like it's definitely fun to be able to come in here midweek and, talk some Colts football.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, still feeling good about the Colts right now. 2-1, like we talked about before. Great gritty win in Baltimore, and potentially getting back two key pieces this week, which will definitely be huge. And then potentially two more key pieces in week number 5, Derek. So obviously talking about Richardson and Ryan Kelly, who didn't play in the game, which I think is just remarkable. The fact the Colts were out two of their best players on offense and still were able to grind it out. I think that's very impressive, especially considering one of those is literally your franchise quarterback. So, but yeah, and then also, week number 5, Derek, against the Titans, Jonathan Taylor is eligible to play and eligible to practice. And we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be in football shape or not, but him and Jelani Woods, who I think is a player that we've all been anticipating, JT's return so much. I think we kind of forget about Jelani Woods. We know how much of an impact he had last year when he was targeted. So, yeah, Derek, definitely feeling good. Colts, relatively healthy still. Obviously, knock on wood there. Like to do that every time. But, Colts pretty relatively healthy at this point. Hopefully they get back their two starters on the offensive side of things and then get back a couple more in week number 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the 72 people already in here. Thank you guys so very much. Be sure to like the stream, guys. It helps it get out to more and more people. So greatly appreciate that. Be sure to comment in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, No Horsing Around podcast. That's our guys, Steven and Zach over there. Appreciate you. Yep. Make sure y'all subscribe to them.
Yes.
But Derek, yeah, man, I mean, a milestone that, we didn't really talk about much outside of during the stream was the 17K that we hit.
That's funny. Our minds went to the same place. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
So, 17K so far, which is truly awesome. Really happy to be able to have finally hit that milestone, which is really awesome. But the grind will continue, man. And 17K doesn't matter. We're moving on to bigger and better things. We're going to keep grinding and keep doing more.
Yes, sir. And if the Colts continue to win, that definitely helps the content for sure. So, yeah, man, really excited. 17K, again, it's been 5 years of doing this season. I guess we started our first season was technically 2019. So, you do the math there. This is year number 4 of a regular full season for the Indianapolis Colts, I believe, right? If my math's
correct. Our 5th season now.
Math was never my strong
2019 season together. Oh, yes. 2020, 2021, 2022, and now 2023.
That doesn't seem real, man. That's crazy. So, yeah, going in year number 5, covering the Indianapolis Colts on a, I don't want to say full-time basis, but it feels like it sometimes, with the trying to keep up on everything that's going on from news and, obviously covering the games, getting previews, recaps, which, by the way, Derek, I know we talked earlier today, really excited about who we're going to get on Thursday for the game preview, another awesome content creator who covers the Rams and does a lot on YouTube as well. So excited for that. But yeah, man, 17K, what can you say? It's been a grind. There's been some ups, there's been some downs. Derek, it was funny. I was looking at, some of the oldest videos today. I don't know why. I just got nostalgic. Sometimes that happens. I know we did that when you came over for training camp. Just looking back on all the stuff that's happened, where we've been and clearly how far we've come for sure. But it was crazy, man, because, you look back on that season, and I remember distinctly a conversation that you and I had because, when the Colts weren't very good to end the 2019 season and, they started losing. Oh, by the way, thank you, Hunter. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Hunter, for the super chat, man. Appreciate that.
Sorry about your Irish, Hunter. That was a rough game. I know Derek's pretty happy about that. But anyway, going back to what I was saying. So back in the 2019 season, do you remember, Derek, before we hit 1,000 subscribers, we considered quitting. We considered giving it up and being done. I don't know if we've ever shared that on stream before, but I specifically remember we took like multiple weeks off. We didn't even finish the season out with previews and recaps because we just were discouraged. I remember that. We're like, gosh, nobody's watching our videos. We're getting like 50 views, maybe in a video. And, we were just very discouraged and like, should we continue to do this thing? But I always remember, man, I know COVID was really hard for a lot of people, but that was the beginning of a lot of awesome things on the channel. And that was really when we kind of caught our break, to be completely honest with you, because people were stuck at home. People wanted to talk about the Colts, because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. And obviously like the off season was in full swing around that time. Free agency was kind of kicking off. Colts did a lot in free agency that year. And so it just kind of took off. So yeah, just kind of was reminiscing and just like, wow, kind of the journey it's just been awesome. So thank you everybody for who has kind of been here from the beginning, or if you're new, thank you for helping us out along this journey, kind of give you a little bit of background on kind of where we've come from and to where we're at now. And so, yeah, man, love what we do. Wouldn't want to do it with any other, group of fans. And so we're really appreciative of you guys and all that you do for us. So yeah, man, 17 days is a milestone, man.
Absolutely, man. Hey, I love doing this, man. Every single day with you. It's been that way for 4 years now. So, it is what it is, but it is nice, especially because, we check the YouTube comments every once in a while, and it's nice to see every once in a while, see a video and somebody says, thank you for the content, and thank you for keeping me updated when I'm hearing this. And then, I've been subscribed for you guys for years now, and still watch to this day. Love those. Appreciate that. But yeah, man, I did want to get into, today, guys, we're really just going to talk about a whole bunch of different things going on with the Colts right now. We didn't really have a plan on what we're to talk about. We're kind of talking about like the current state of the Colts, what's going on, all of this stuff. But there is over 80 of you in here right now, guys. Let's get over 50 likes on the stream. Let's help it get out to more and more people. But Cody, listen to this. Did you see where the Colts are ranked on the NFL's power rankings right now?
What was it, like 28th or something?
28.
Yeah, that's pretty
bad.
And
we are 2-1. So let me just go up the ladder, and then you tell me if it's crap that they're ahead of us. Okay. So coming in at 27, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Are you serious?
That's so unmaniacally laughable. That's especially last year, because the Raiders got stumped by the Jeff Saturday Colts.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, they should not be ahead of us until their record is way above us. Who, by the way, they're 1-2. Okay. Number 26, Minnesota, who's winless. Minnesota is winless, and we are below them by two spots. So, and then the Arizona Cardinals at 1-2.
Yeah, that is.
I know bad. The only reason they went up is because they beat the Cowboys, and that's the only reason that they put them ahead of us, is because of that. And that's so stupid.
But we beat
one
the Ravens,
win against the freaking Cowboys, and they move them from 32 to 25, just like that.
But the Ravens were undefeated. So, if you say, okay, they beat the Cowboys, okay, we beat the Ravens. So, like, what propels them so much higher versus what does not propel the Colts so much higher?
So, 24 is the Rams.
Okay.
So, if we beat the Rams this next week, then that means we at least get moved to the 24th spot. Has to mean that. And guess who's 23, bro?
Who?
The Houston Texans.
Really?
The Houston Texans are ranked 23rd because they beat the Jags and they moved them up 8 spots.
You mean the Houston Texans that the Colts beat down in Houston?
Yeah,
Houston Texans team?
Yeah. It makes no sense. Washington Commanders at 22. I don't think the Commanders are better.
You just got just wrecked, dude, by Buffalo. like
Yeah.
direct.
Tennessee at 21, bro.
They just got destroyed.
Tennessee, who was one really lucky half away from being 0-3.
Yeah.
Seriously. And at this moment, I mean, do you think we're better than the Jets right now? I would say we're better than the Jets.
Oh, yeah. Just simply because of their quarterback, man. I mean, it's bad. It's really, really bad. So.
I mean, I think we should be in the late teens or early 20s. Like, these rankings are terrible. How could you possibly place Houston, who has a worse record, who has a worse situation than the Colts, and the Colts stumped them, and yet somehow, some way, Houston is ranked ahead of them? How? How is that possible?
To be fair, that's really the only egregious power rankings I've seen, Derek. Most of them are pretty fair to the Colts. I'm pulling up ESPN's real fast. So they have the Colts at 20th in ESPN, which is like, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, late teens, early 20s, maybe mid-teens. That's kind of around where I expected them to be. But yeah, to have them still as one of the worst, teams in the power rankings, that's pretty bad. That's pretty egregious. I don't know.
We are the only team. We're the only team in the bottom 10 teams that have a winning record.
Yeah.
We have a winning record and we are in the bottom 10 of teams.
Wow.
Washington at 22nd is right there. That's the next highest team with a winning record is Washington. That is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Just had to get that off my chest. That is the stupidest thing ever. I'm telling you right now, folks. I'm telling you, they don't know. They don't know how good this team is. They don't know, and they won't know until Indy puts together more wins. And when Indy is in the mix for a playoff, then they have to admit that we're good. And it's funny because me personally, Cody, I would never have suggested we would ever have a chance at making the playoffs. But after looking at how nobody's really dominated anyone so far this year in the AFC, I mean, outside of maybe the Dolphins, I seriously think there's a lot of teams that are really struggling this year because of early injuries. And I think we actually might legit have a chance at the end of the year if we start stringing some games together.
Never know. What's up, Logan? Logan's in the chat.
Logan.
Good to see you, Logan. But yeah, Derek, you can make a strong argument that the Indianapolis Colts are only a couple bad plays away from being 3-0. Like, seriously, a Jamal Agnew punt return from being 3-0. An Anthony Richardson, injury from being, potentially competing in that game. Because, Derek, Anthony Richardson, when he got hurt, I mean, if he didn't get hurt and if he stayed in that game, I think we could probably agree with how the Colts were driving it. They probably score there and cut the lead to 3. And you never know what could happen there. So, I'm just saying, like, the Colts have been competitive in all 3 games. And they've been, either in control or in each and every game. And so I definitely think that's something that, the Colts have not been a team that has gotten blown out. I know maybe their competition outside of Baltimore hasn't necessarily been great so far, but they've hung in there with pretty much everybody. So I think that definitely, the teams that are ahead of them right now, you mentioned Washington. I know they're 2-1, but they just got blown out, and so the Colts have not gotten to that point where they've been blown out. They've looked completely overmatched in any matchup so far.
You know that Zach Moss has the 9th most rushing yards in the entire NFL, and he missed 1 game.
I did see that. That
is incredible.
That's impressive. I got a lot of stats here, Derek. I'm a stats person. So
Madio with the $2 super chat. Thank you. 100% we want JT back.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's 100% the right move if you're wanting to have this offense explode.
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing is you're seeing Zach Moss and you're saying to yourself, you could run a 65 to 35% JT and Zach Moss and feel like you could keep JT healthier for a lot longer with Zach Moss as the running back. 100%.
Saying that, Derek, of wanting Jonathan Taylor back, I think it's like just how good Zach Moss has been. Like it's hard for me. It's hard because like you're like he's played so well. It's like it's going to be tough to take some snaps away from him, but like you're going to have to because obviously Taylor's the better player at this point. He's at his average is 5 yards a carry or something like that. Moss is about 4. But I do think, Derek, this is a great situation for the Colts and their stable of running backs because we know very well Shane Steichen and what he likes to do with the running back by committee. We saw what he did in Philadelphia with that, with all the different guys that they had. So I definitely see it being a scenario where, when Jonathan Taylor is back and fully ready to go, they use both these guys. And Derek, we know all too well with Jonathan Taylor, how much is running him too much. We saw that in the 2021 season where he just kind of got worn out by the end of the season in a lot of ways. And you just used him a ton. And we've seen that with different running backs when they get the lion's share of the carries. And, that really can potentially shorten their lifespan. We already know the shelf life of a running back is short enough as it is. But, the fact that now you have another back to spell Jonathan Taylor, I think is going to be big for this team. And I think it's going to be really good for not just Jonathan Taylor, but also Zach Moss, who's been getting 90 to 95% of the carries the last 2 weeks for both their longevity, because it's a long, grueling season. So definitely think this is a situation where Shane Steichen will use both these guys in his offense. And I think it makes both players better because while their carries might go down, their efficiency, you got to think from being fresher, has to go up. So I definitely think it's going to be a great situation there with the running back committee. And then we'll see, I know the Colts worked out another running back today. I don't know if you saw that one or not, Derek. The Indianapolis Colts, they worked out former second-round pick of 2018, Ronald Jones today. He's been back, Derek, that while he's never lived up to the second-round billing, he had a season where he was close to 1,000 yards with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he has some experience, which I think is definitely great. And I know there are some issues there. There's obvious reasons why he's not still in the Buccaneers, but it's another solid former high round pick that clearly has talent. And it's very obvious that the Colts just want to continue to add to this running back room. So I like that they're going after these former high-round picks. Trey Sermon, obviously, on the roster, and now potentially going and getting Ronald Jones. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I personally love it. I love that the Colts are going and trying to, betting on potentially Shane Steichen and company, being able to tap into the talent because we saw the Colts do that last year with Zach Moss, former high-round pick for the Buffalo Bills. Never was used correctly, never had a great, thing with Buffalo. And then he comes to Indianapolis and he has a chance and he thrives and he's thriving this year again. So I definitely just love with a coach that can utilize these guys, get him as much potential talent as you can get him and just let him go to work and let him formulate a game plan. What are your thoughts on the Ronald Jones, visit today?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like you said, it's just all about trying to find the best dudes possible for when, hopefully at some point when JT comes back. Like I said, I mean, it is not, this whole situation is going to be really strange if JT does come back. If JT comes back, of course, Zach Moss is going to be number 2, but then it's going to be the big question, who's going to be running back 3? I mean, that's going to be the big question here is how many more guys do they bring onto the roster before, they're satisfied with who that will be. And of course, they're just cycling through them until they know for certain that Jonathan Taylor's coming back because you don't know. We don't know for a fact if Jonathan Taylor is going to want to play this year or not. We all know that he should, but he may not. And so that's going to be the issue. So you're, again, trying to find the best guys possible. And then when Jonathan Taylor decides to come back, you're able to make those decisions a little bit easier for yourself. I mean, listen, Cody, I do not mind a backfield of Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, and Ronald Jones. I don't mind that at all because you got 3 hard-nosed, really strong runners. I mean, those 3 dudes can put you on your butt real quickly, and they wear you down. And that's another great thing about Ronald Jones. I think if you had him in there, you could throw him in there for a couple snaps throughout the game, and just to give Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor a little bit more of a rest, and you could definitely use him in a goal line situation. And of course, yeah, I see people talking about it in the chat as well. Like, even if Jonathan Taylor comes back, Cody, right away, he's not going to be at peak conditioning when he gets back. He's not going to be 100%. You need these running backs to be able to take the load off of him, because it's going to take him several weeks to get more back into game shape, because, you know, he didn't play much last year. He obviously couldn't do a whole lot throughout the offseason with the injury that he's had. It's just going to be a situation where you need all the guys that you can get. But shout out to the 152 people in here right now, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button on the stream. Helps it get out to more people. We greatly appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe, all that great stuff. I'll tell you what, Cody, and I saw some people talking about it earlier in the chat. I think that we were watching, you and I were you texted me last night, and we were watching that Rams game last night.
Yes.
And we saw like that Bengals defensive line, every single drive got to Matt Stafford. Yeah. Every single drive in that second half. I mean, every drive of theirs got stalled by Matt Stafford getting sacked. I think it was 6 sacks on the day for them, which felt like more than that. But I mean, we've seen where the Rams, they travel on Monday night and get to Cincinnati, and then they got to travel back. They're going back to LA, and then Saturday got to travel all the way back to the Midwest again, and in less than a week's time, and go play Indianapolis, who has a defensive line that leads the NFL in sacks throughout the first 3 weeks.
They are second. Yeah.
Okay.
Tied for second. They have 12.
Tied for second. Okay. I figured at some point it might change because of the games the other day.
The Steelers have 13. They're in the lead right now.
Gotcha. But nevertheless, the Colts defensive line so far has been a top 5 defensive line unit in this game so far throughout this season. And you got to imagine that with 5 days of recovery time, some of your offensive linemen are really banged up to where they're not playing. Matt Stafford's confidence is shot. Sean McVay's not calling a great game plan right now. And the sacks are piling up on Matt Stafford. And we've seen Indy average 4 sacks a game so far throughout the year. You got to imagine they're going to do the same thing to the Rams.
Yeah, I believe it was one of the tackles for the Rams left that game. Here, I'll pull this up actually so I can tell you. So the Rams actually were pretty good, but Alaric Jackson, who is their left tackle, he left with a thigh injury. That's obviously something we'll monitor. Zachary Thomas is a left tackle. He had never played a single snap in the NFL, and he was very, very poor against Trey Hendrickson and company. So he really, really struggled. And then Noteboom as well struggled or got hurt in this game. So they had 2 offensive line injuries in this game alone, Derek. 2 starters go down. So that'll definitely be a big one to monitor for the Colts. I have a stat here I want to share if you're good with it. And we posted it earlier today on Bring the Juice on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. By the way, be sure to go follow us there. But I'm going to share it here, Derek. So look at when we talk about edge run win rate. Look who's number one. Kwity Paye, 17 wins on 40 plays. Here's the crazy thing, Derek. He's double teamed out of the top 5. He's double teamed the most, and he's still winning. So Kwity Paye, absolutely killing it right now. Look at that. And look who's sneaking right at the bottom there.
Samson Ebukam, dude, I'm telling you that, and he's double teamed the second least. I don't know. And here's the thing, going off of the Colts for a second, I still don't know how teams don't double team Cameron Jordan. Like,
I know.
I don't know how you continue to just let Cameron Jordan just feast on people. But I mean, yeah, the Colts defensive ends are one, Kwity staying healthy. That's the great part of it first. And all of that work is finally coming together. It's finally working because he's healthy. And you got a guy on the other side that is generating great pressure. He's not always getting the sack numbers, but he is constantly putting pressure on everyone else. And of course, Grover Stewart has done a better job of getting pressure. DeForest Buckner is still doing him, so it's incredible to watch what this defensive line's been doing.
Yeah, they've been absolutely killing it so far. In pretty much all categories, they've been really doing well in that defensive line. Had a stat here I wanted to pull up again. Big stat guy. So the Colts right now, Derek, are first in the NFL in tackles for loss. They have 23, 12 sacks, second in the NFL, tied for second, and 7 forced fumbles. Now, Derek, that's something I want to note here and I want to highlight because this Colts team had a noticeable dip last year in the turnover department. The forced fumbles, just the doing things that we've been accustomed to them doing under Matt Eberflus, for years. They would force all those fumbles. Obviously, Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard would be at the forefront of that, but it's everywhere, Derek. All these guys making plays, forcing fumbles. And Juju Brents goes in there in his first game and he forces a fumble. So, I mean, it's great. It's great to see this defense really getting back to their identity a little bit more, forcing fumbles, making plays, and ultimately giving their team a chance in this, so far through the season, Derek. I mean, really the big reason why you can point to why the Colts are 2-1 and leading the division right now is because of their defense. And so want to give them a shout, Derek. We thought, you're let's be real, like you lost a lot of experience, especially in your secondary. You lost Stephon Gilmore. You lost Isaiah Rodgers. You lost Faison. I know some people will say that's addition by subtraction, but it's still a majority of the snaps from last year. You lost Rodney McLeod. So you lost like potentially 3 guys that started, or 4 even potentially with Faison, that started and played significant roles for you last year. But to give this defense credit, they haven't been perfect, when it comes to the pass, but they have stepped it up when it mattered, especially last week. And I just want to give them a special shout out because I think they deserve it for a unit that was labeled as going to be terrible. They've done a great job so far.
And I got to give credit in a couple different spots. First of all, to Gus Bradley, I don't know if it's because strictly of him. Also, shout out to the 180 people in here right now. Be sure to like the stream, guys. Be sure to comment. Be sure to subscribe. All that great stuff, please.
Absolutely.
But Bradley, I can't remember the exact number. I think it's around 30%, Cody,
38.
where the Colts are rushing the passer now.
Okay.
They're rushing the passer, I think, on 30% of drives or of pass plays, which is up a lot, noticeably a lot compared to what it was last year. I think it was at like 15%. Or maybe it was even less than that. But so far, through 3 games, you have seen the Indianapolis Colts dial up the pressure. EJ Speed has several sacks. I know that Zaire Franklin has one. You're getting linebackers like EJ Speed, Cody, who have that ability, that speed, theoretically, to be able to make plays in the backfield. Because of EJ Speed's athletic ability, they're utilizing that, and it's working. and you've gotten pressure off the edges, and your front four are generating that pressure without it still. I think they did actually say that Indy, I think right now, actually is outside of pressure. I think they said the Indianapolis Colts might be the second or third best team in the NFL right now at generating pressure right now with just the front four, which that is mainly due to the drastic improvement of Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam coming off of the edge. So that definitely is really awesome to see that, Indy is embracing it a little bit more. I think that's what they need to do. And I don't know if that's Gus Bradley totally, or if it's, Shane Steichen coming to him and saying, hey, listen, like, we need to get aggressive because we got the guys to do it, and we got to keep generating pressure if we want to win these games. And I think you're realizing that maybe the reason the secondary, Cody, hasn't been exposed yet by anyone has been due to the fact that the Colts are getting a lot more consistent pressure on the quarterback. It's making it a little harder for teams to stretch the field on us.
Yeah, Gus Bradley's been blitzing more than he usually does, which has definitely been great to see. So, yeah, this defense has been just lighting it up so far. I mean, you have to average 4 sacks a game. That's great, for what they're doing right now. So definitely they deserve a lot of, credit. And, I think the corners last week were really solid, Derek. Juju Brents was the highest graded defender according to Pro Football Focus. Had a great game in his rookie debut. He is listed as the starter right now, the number 1 corner for the Colts in their week 4 unofficial depth chart. So that's great to see. Him and Dallas Flowers, I think, will be just fine. Nobody's really talking about Dallas Flowers, Derek, but I think he's been solid. Nothing spectacular, but he's been solid. I will be interested to see where does a guy like Jalen Jones factor in, because the Colts talked him up a lot. And when asked about why they felt comfortable releasing Darius Rush, they said, Chris Ballard's his, I guess, excuse, if you will, was Jalen Jones. He said Jalen Jones is the reason why we feel comfortable. And so he's been doing a lot on special teams right now, but does he get more of a look here, potentially down the stretch if the Colts want to give him more of an opportunity? Because, I mean, Derek, this dude, we've talked about it ever since he was drafted. All those snaps he had in the SEC, that is impressive. And for the stats that he had, and also only being as young as he is, I think he's 21, 22 years old. So he is young, but he also has experience, which is kind of rare, like the fact that he's young, but he started as a true freshman, and he was really, really good at A&M. So Jalen Jones, I'm really intrigued by. And just want to see, I'm embracing this youth movement at this point. Like, I'm good with it. Just roll with it and let it go. But yeah, Jalen Jones is interesting. But and the safeties, I think, have been pretty good. They were really good last week. So Julian Blackman's looking to settle into that strong safety position, which is cool. So yeah, man, really looking up here for the Colts defense. And again, we'll see how it works because it's going to be a true test against Stafford, Puka Nacua, all those players on that, Rams offense. I know their line's kind of banged up, but they can get back in games really quickly. When we saw it in that Bengal game, like they got back in that game pretty quickly because of their, Matthew Stafford, say what you want about him. He's still a pretty good quarterback, when he's given time. So
if you give him time, which is crazy because he was only sacked 1 time through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season.
Yep.
And which is crazy because they faced the San Francisco defensive front in week 2. Obviously, a lot more banged up in week 3, which I don't know if it's going to get any better.
Sure.
I don't know if it's going to be any better for this next week. So I hope that, you would hope that it is as a competitor standpoint, but who knows if it's going to be much better. But yeah, John X also with this fact, what's insane is Zaire Franklin has 45 tackles. Only other defender over 40 tackles is TJ Edwards, who has played more snaps than Franklin. Yeah. And listen, I have a video coming out tomorrow, I think, on the rise of Zaire Franklin. So make sure y'all go check that one out tomorrow. Legitimately, y'all, I'm not joking when I say this. Zaire Franklin is on pace to set the NFL record for most tackles in a single season, and nobody's talking about it. We're 20% of the way through the season almost, and no one is talking about the fact that Zaire Franklin has the most tackles in the league, and he's fundamentally taking over games. I mean, his lowest amount of tackles so far has been 13 in a game. I mean, that's incredible. The dude, I mean, Cody, can you think back to 2 years ago that we would be talking about Zaire Franklin like this? I never could have imagined it. And I was thinking, I mentioned it in the video. He was the last draft pick of the 2018 draft class. Many who say that to this day might end up going down as one of the best draft classes that you've ever seen, especially from Chris Ballard, who was his best one. And he was a 7th rounder. And now he is not only the best defensive player on our team right now, but he might be might be the best linebacker in all of the NFL. I mean, it's a legit reason to think that.
It's funny, like a year after he sets the Colts franchise record in tackles, he said, all right, I'm not content with just the Colts. I'm going to set the NFL record for tackles. So he's on a great pace so far. Zaire Franklin. I mean, Derek, if you talk about one of the biggest surprises in the last 2 years for the Colts, I think Zaire Franklin's got to be right up there with anybody. He has just come out of nowhere, got the role last year, when Leonard was hurt, he got that role alongside Bobby Okereke, and he never relented. And he was the best player probably on the defense last year. I know there's maybe a couple players that could rival him, but he was the captain last year on that defense, not just the special teams captain, which is what we all thought he was going to be, but he is the captain. I remember, Derek, when the Colts re-signed him going into the 2022 season, and we said, oh, man, you're really going to pay that much for Zaire Franklin? Because at the time, he had not emerged as the player we know him now. And we're like, you're paying that much money to a special teams guy? That was I remember that was a conversation we had. But again, Zaire Franklin's proved everybody wrong. Nobody saw this coming. Especially a 7th-round pick to do what he's done and take over this defense. It's crazy that it's gone from Shaquille Leonard, Darius Leonard's defense to Zaire Franklin's defense.
It's now crazy. Zaire's team now. Yeah. He has inserted himself in the role of as the team captain. No longer special teams captain, no longer just a camp body. He is the team captain. He is the team voice. He is that guy now. And that's awesome to see. I mean, I'm pleasantly shocked, and I love it. And I hope that Zaire, you see this, because I mean, if no one else in the world ever gives you the credit that you deserve for what you're doing right now, I'll be that one. I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing right now, because last year you set the franchise record for tackles. It wasn't good enough, and you're doing what you're doing already. I mean, Cody, he has 30% of his tackle total already from last year, and we're 3 games into the season.
That's wild. That's insane. Wow.
That is crazy. I mean,
that is.
Would y'all rather have Leonard or Parsons on our defense currently? I mean, they're different styles. They're different. They're both linebackers, but Parsons, we all know, is at his best when he's an edge guy.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I mean, nevertheless, it's really awesome.
Yeah, Derek, if you would have asked me, maybe even at this time last year, with the Shaquille Leonard injury and stuff, maybe before the season, if you would have told me that Shaquille Leonard would miss the majority of the 2022 season and would not be playing like himself, I would have said, man, the defense must be terrible. The linebacker situation must be terrible. But the Colts haven't missed a beat. They have not missed a beat with Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed in there. I mean, these two guys are just killing it right now.
And you lost Okereke last year too.
That's crazy.
EJ Speed has filled that role beautifully. I mean, he really has.
Maybe this is crazy to say, but was it an upgrade doing that? Re-signing him and letting him get a more of an extended role?
You're paying EJ Speed what, like a quarter of the contract that Bobby Okereke is getting, and he's giving you the same production. I mean, I'm not complaining. I told everyone that EJ Speed could do this. Absolutely. I knew he could do this, and he's showing it. So I love it. The linebacker trio we have right now is still the best trio in the NFL. It's just now that the roles are switched. It was funny because we had arguably Cody the fourth best linebacker that you could possibly ask for sitting on the bench. And then we get rid of Bobby Okereke. EJ Speed comes in and he does the same job. If not better. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yes, it is. So
210 people in here right now, guys. Thank you all very much for tuning in.
Appreciate it.
Well, guys, let's get over 100 likes. Come on, let's help it out.
Let's get that. Now, but the thing is, Derek, EJ Speed, he's more athletic. He's a lot more athletic than Bobby Okereke was. Man. So, I mean, he's just a freak. We've known that ever since the Colts took him in the 5th round.
It's just so crazy to be 6'5" and 230 pounds and move the way he does. I mean, he's the same size as anyone. He's practically almost the size of an edge rusher. I mean, and he can move like that. I mean, it's just so crazy to think about.
It's impressive, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it so far. Hopefully the defense continues to keep doing what it's doing, because I mean, if you continue to who's the best Colts linebacker right now today? Oh, well, that's clearly Zaire Franklin. I mean, the production is unmatched. But nevertheless, before I hop into this next clip, did you see Brian B's or Baldy B's breakdown of Zaire's tackle on Lamar? Did you see that from earlier?
You share it?
Let me see if you haven't already seen it. Let me pull it up, because so this right here, Brian Baldinger's thing here. Let me pull this up.
Okay.
This was the tackle that was made by Zaire on so watch this.
Can you turn it up? I can't hear it.
Oh, you might not be able to quite hear it. I don't know. It's probably because of the audio being sent to a different spot. But just look where he is. Like, this should be for any linebacker. Lamar with a linebacker anywhere. Like, just look at, like, how does Zaire make this tackle? Like, how does Zaire make that tackle? I mean, that is just incredible that Zaire, like, who I think everyone said was the slow poke of the group, ended up chasing down Lamar Jackson. And also, by the way, that tackle saved a first down, by the way, if I so remind everybody. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. I just can't. I could go on forever about this kid. I really could.
I'm going to play the sound for everybody, just so because people are asking about it. I'll just play it real fast for you guys.
Lamar owed Zaire some money.
Okay.
I honestly don't know if Zaire Franklin's ever been timed in the 40 or the 20 or the short shuttle or the high jump or the half mile. I don't know if he's been timed in any of that stuff. All I know is I watched this. Him cover Gus Edwards coming out of the backfield when he sees Lamar Jackson break the pocket. And he put that left foot in the ground, and the chase was on. And I didn't know anybody could do that to Lamar in the open field. But Zaire did. And he does it every week. And he lets people know that he's there. He wants them to feel their punch. Every down, every play, every week, Zaire Franklin is there. That's a hell of a football player.
There you go.
Hey, I love it, man. I I love it, dude.
A little love for Juju. Here you go.
Oh, he's talking about Juju. Yeah.
Well, like
yeah, Zaire.
Drake on the second drive of the Ravens has this ball going here, and Julius Brents, their second round pick, punches it out of Warren Central High School right in Indy. He's one of Indy's own. Forces the fumble and recovers it. And then big prize free agent right here. Samson Ebukam coming off the corner right here, right at Lamar Jackson. This is 3 plays after Brent's recovery. Ball's out. Like they just made play after play. And then you see Taven Bryan right here going up against a very solid Kevin Zeitler, right guard. He gets in there and gets the ball out of Lamar's hands. And Kwity Paye gets on it. Like the Colts made it happen. That's what they did. They made it happen.
Love it, dude.
There you go.
Just love it. Just love it. Defense is awesome. I mean, no question about it.
Yeah.
But I think we have to talk about, and Cody, let's give props to the man himself here for a minute, okay? Because let's face it, if the season wasn't going the way that we expected, or as we're seeing it now, and we didn't see Samson and Bukum playing well, we didn't see Juju Brents playing well, we didn't see these linebackers playing well, or as a matter of fact, Cody, the offensive line not playing as well as it has. All right, let's bring it back here for a minute and let's give praise to the man himself, Chris Ballard, who has, because like I said, if all of these guys were not playing well, then we would be sitting here and we would again be calling for Chris Ballard's job because we say he was too stubborn and he needs to go because he's just going to drive this team into the ground because he doesn't want anything to change. Well, he did make a few changes where it mattered, and he also let the offensive line get better where it was currently at. And so far, that offensive line has done exactly that. The free agents and draft picks on the defense that you did acquire have performed really well so far. So in this moment in time, I'll give credit to Chris Ballard. He got it right so far.
Yep. And we've been his biggest critics, in a lot of ways of saying, man, you just not addressed premium positions, or your returns have not come, yet. And again, it's still early, but you think about it, Derek, what Ballard was able to do, really this off season, and I guess last off season too. You're able to get your left tackle. Bernard Ryman's playing extremely well. He's one of the better left tackles, I think, right now playing. I might be a little extreme for some people, but he's playing like it. He's playing really, really good football for the Colts. You feel really good about him at left tackle. You already mentioned, the pass rush right now, specifically from the edge position, is playing probably the best we've seen under Chris Ballard. And these are both young guys. Bukum's 27, 28. Kwity Paye is like 24, 25. So still young guys in their mid-20s that are doing this. And then also the quarterback. I mean, you got to talk about that. The quarterback, getting your quarterback in Anthony Richardson, and he's looked good when he's been out there. And so, yeah, definitely have to give him kudos where it's due. He's done a good job of, believing in some of his guys. And, the offensive line talked about that rebound, just believing that. And Derek, I have to ask you this. How terrible does that have to look for Chris Strausser? Same unit as last year. Looks 100 times better.
100 times better. It tells you everything. And I know that him going to the Texans, clearly with all of the injuries that have happened so far, it doesn't make it much easier. But I'm 100% guaranteeing that the Texans offensive line is just going to continue to get worse because it happens every time Strausser goes somewhere. It does tell you a lot that this offensive line, who even when they're down their center, still looks better than 90% of the games that they played last year. And down Will Fries too. They were down to their backup right guard. We already said that position was terrible. And then Josh Sills comes in and he looked okay. Come on, dude. It just goes to show you, like, this offensive line is playing with a lot more cohesiveness right now. And I think that is exactly what the problem was last year is they weren't cohesive as a unit last year. I'm not saying that's all on Chris Strouser, but it definitely probably is quite a bit of it. So, I mean, Tony's I think it's Sperano. He just has done such a phenomenal job already of just making it so much better for this offensive line unit. Again, we know that Gardner Minshew got sacked 5 times last week, but I think we all agreed that 3 or 4 of those 5 sacks were on Gardner Minshew for not recognizing the blitzes. But I mean, it's awesome, man. I love what we're seeing from this O-line unit as well.
Yeah, you know what's interesting to me, Derek, is you look at some of the former people who were here with the Colts coaching wise. Chris Strouser talked about it. I know the offensive line is decimated, but we talked about that. Frank Reich, 0-3 right now. Matt Eberflus, I mean, that whole disaster right now. So, like, you see all these former coaches for the Indianapolis Colts right now, and you're like, maybe it was a lot more coaching than we are led to believe, because I'm going to pull up the stat here, Derek, just from last year from the Colts offense for reference here. All right. They, obviously they have a new quarterback and they have a few new pieces, but they don't have it's not like they completely overhauled every single position. Right. So here are some stats. So last year, Derek, the Colts offense, 24th in rushing yards, 23rd in passing yards, 30th in points. So far through 3 weeks, again, 1.5 of those weeks having a backup quarterback in, 12th in rushing yards. And this is also without Jonathan Taylor, let me add as well. 12th in rushing yards, 16th in passing yards, and 10th in points. So you cannot tell me that the coaching has not gone from basically 0 to 100. They're completely different when it comes to this. And you look at Frank Reich. I mean, people in the media right now for Carolina are saying, dude, Frank Reich needs to give up the play calling. And I literally, Derek, out of curiosity, I was kind of checking out some of the, comments in some of the Panthers videos with Frank Reich, and people were saying, Colts fans warned us, and they were right. Frank Reich is not a good head coach. And I know there's a lot of Frank Reich truthers out there, but I'm sorry. It clearly was Frank Reich in a lot of ways. He's doing the same exact thing in Carolina, and you're seeing similar results to that, So, again, I know it's a rookie quarterback. I know they're not supposed to be good, but, the offense isn't even interesting, Derek. They're not even, competent right now. And it's just at some point, it's how many excuses can you give Frank Reich?
Yeah, and it's crazy, too, because you look at the amount of wins that the new coaches have acquired so far, Cody, through 3 weeks. Yep. Through 3 weeks, 3 wins from the new head coaches. And guess where 2 of them have come from? Shane Steichen. 5 new coaches, 15 games in total, 3 wins. 2 of them have come from our head coach, Shane Steichen. Yeah. It's no denying it. The Colts got the best one, and the Colts are in a good position right now. They made the right decision to move on from Frank Reich, and they made the right decision in getting Shane Steichen. There is still way much more that this team needs to get better at, Cody. Way much more. And if they want to continue to trend in the right direction, shout out to Jason Finch with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. The downhill blocks were an issue. Take a look. We missed quite a few. Yes, there were a couple on those screens. I will give you that the offensive line could have done a little better, but that's very difficult to do. It's hard to practice on, by the way. But yeah. I do appreciate the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. But I completely forget my point now. So
that's okay.
That.
But
like I said, there is a lot of situations where this team needs to get better. If you want to contend in the NFL with, these other teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins now, and teams like that, you need to be a top 10 offense. It's not good enough anymore to just be slightly above average, which is right where the Colts offense is right now. It's slightly above average. And that's good because I think that Cody, honestly, for most of us, I don't even think some of us thought that we would even be here at all after week 3. And on top of it, we've not had Anthony Richardson at all, who's looked like the better quarterback than Gardner Minshew. And this offense is still doing that. But I mean, you just need to have it to where, you just need to continue to build. And we all said it, this year is a trial run, but it's super nice to know that while we're trial running this stuff, we're still winning football games. And that's important to me.
Right. And I mean, it's just so refreshing to have a coach that will actually hold players accountable. We talked about that. And just a coach that, how many times, Derek, did we hear Frank Reich at the end of the game after the Colts would lose saying, we got outcoached? I know we were sick of it by the end of it. We were tired of hearing that. And Derek, you outcoached one of the best head coaches in all of football on Sunday.
Hold up. Michigan Wolverines, $10 super chat. My guy, Shane is an intelligent mind, and this offense is only going to get better. Super excited. Michigan Wolverines, loyal, dedicated person to this channel. Thank you so very much, my friend. I greatly appreciate it. But appreciate that, man. Thank you for the super chat. But as you were saying, about Frank Reich, I agree with you. It's night and day. I mean, you and I hated that. You and I, every press conference after the game, we kept talking about it. How many minutes into the press conference are we going to see we got outcoached? How many times? How many times do you have to constantly keep telling people we got outcoached? Blatantly saying that it's your fault that we lost. So why do you get to continuously say you sucked, but still be able to keep your job?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just like, we have everything needs worked on, but nothing gets better. It's like, what? Like, if you keep saying we need to get better in all areas, but you're not getting better in all areas, it's like that's indicative of you as a head coach because you're not adapting. You're not doing your job. You're not putting the best players in positions to win. And that's just something that, definitely like down, Frank Reich's tenure, especially like later on, we just had that beef too. It's like, why are you not getting Paris Campbell involved when he's healthy? Why are you not getting Nyheim Hines involved more? Why do you go to certain players where one game they'll have, 10 targets, the next game they'll have 1 target? That just was so confusing to me. And he almost refused to play the hot hand. Derek, this is something that Shane Steichen has done really, really well, is he's not going to go away from what works, and that was something that Frank Reich did all too often. It was almost trying to like outsmart yourself, and you end up screwing yourself by trying to be smarter than everybody in the room. It's like, sometimes you just don't need to overthink it. You just need to do it. So that's just something I appreciate about the Colts is like, and sometimes like with the aggressiveness thing, like Shane Steichen's still aggressive, but he's not reckless. And that's something that Frank Reich was at times, where it's like, sometimes you're like, just take the points, man. Like there's a time and a place to go for it, and I'm for it. But like, there's also a time when you're just being stupid and you're costing your team. And we saw that a lot. So Shane Steichen's done a good job of managing that and being able to do that on top of actually having his guys prepared to play a football game. Derek, I have no doubt that if that was a Frank Reich-led team, the Indianapolis Colts are sitting at 1-2 right now. Just because I don't think that team, had the mental fortitude.
Maybe 0-3. Maybe they would have still found a way to lose against Houston, honestly.
It's just a mentally weak team. Like,
I think the only reason we won the Houston game was because Steichen had a game plan not just for Richardson, but had a game plan for Minshew as well. And I don't think Reich would have been able to do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this team, you can just see it. And emulates from the head coach is like, they're passionate, and they're feisty. And that's just something we did not say about them down the stretch. They found ways to lose. That's what we said so many times, man. They found ways to lose. They found ways to screw it up. They found ways to shoot themselves in the foot. gosh, how many times did the Colts do that in big moments where they shot themselves in the foot and they cost themselves wins, or they made it a lot more difficult than it needed to be? And this team, while they still have issues, certainly, I'm not saying they're perfect at all. It is refreshing to actually have a team that comes out and looks like they want to play, and is resilient. That is a big thing that this team hasn't been, is resilient and tough.
They've shown a lot of heart the last couple of weeks, and it feels like a brand new, fresh start for this team. It feels like they've got their mojo back a little bit.
They got back, man. It's nice.
Joseph Bailey, thank you for the $2 super chat. Should we trade JT for a wide receiver? I don't think we'll be able to do that. I doubt that would happen. But I'll tell you what, the one name, Cody, that we've been talking with Logan about the last couple of days has been Devontae Adams. That one is that one's hilarious. But speaking of which, no Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Excited to see you Friday, man. It'll be good.
Horseradish is not an instrument either.
Oh my gosh. Funny.
But yeah, I mean, we'll have the graphics coming up on the Colts Twitter or on the podcast Twitter soon about that. But yeah, dude, just imagine if the Colts could somehow pull that one off. I doubt that would ever happen. I don't know how we would ever get that to work, but Devontae with Anthony Richardson would be hilarious. That'd be awesome, though. I mean, talk about a true number one target that Anthony Richardson could always rely upon. Even if Devontae only has like 2 or 3 more good years left in him, I mean, you still got 2 or 3 more good years of a legit top 5 wide receiver every time.
Yep.
Wesley Thomas, the $2 super chat. Thank you very much.
Speaking of wide receivers, I have a stat for you, Derek.
Yeah. And yes, we will beat the Rams.
The only player in the NFL to have 8+ catches in all 3 games, Michael Pittman Jr. There you go.
I've seen that. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, the Colts consistently keep going to him, which is awesome. That's what you want to see. Unfortunately, it's kind of come in a situation, Cody, where because it's mainly been a Minshew-led offense, there's been a little less productivity from like within the red zone with him. But it has been nice to see Michael Pittman out there making catches a lot more consistently. We talked about that. We talked about that big catch last Sunday, and we've said it so many times now that that's probably the catch of his career. I mean, it might be quite possibly the catch of his career for the rest of his career, because that is one of the best catches I've ever seen. Paul Wilson saying it like Pitt is fixing to get paid. I mean, he is. If he leads the team in practically every stat, then it'd be pretty hard not to pay him. Honestly, it'd be pretty hard not to.
Exactly. And, this dude is so tough. I've never understood the Michael Pittman Jr. hate. I never have agreed with it. He's always been a guy that I've been a lot higher on probably than a lot of people. But, yeah, I mean, the dude goes up and he makes plays. The only issue is he just wasn't given the ball last year, beyond like 2 yards on passes. So his average was way down, but he still led the team with nearly 100 catches, and so I love Michael Pittman Jr. I love the physicality he brings, and that sets a tone, Derek. That really does set a tone to have a receiver that's willing to go up and take a hit like that. And, oh, by the way, injure the defender that hit you, and, also hold on to that. That sets a tone for your wide receiver room. And a guy that's a willing blocker out there and as physical as Michael Pittman is, that's a great attribute to have. I don't think we talk about Michael Pittman's physicality enough because it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, that is very true. Talk about a guy that, does so much behind the scenes and just goes out there and just plays tough. And he's probably one of the first guys in the whole locker room that if something goes down and somebody's being cheap, he's one of the first guys that like I would want with me in a bar fight, because that dude definitely has something about him where he is no nonsense when it comes to the other team doing something like that. So
yeah, he is.
We'll see how the season continues to go. It is really awesome to see Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew hitting him frequently. But we'll have to see. Hopefully his increase in production will start wielding a little bit more positive net worth on some of the catches he has. Because unfortunately, like I think even Pittman would tell you this behind closed doors, Cody, that like all those catches, like
I'm still here. Sorry.
Okay, you're still there. Okay. I think he would say that the catches that he made last week, I mean, just simply didn't really do anything to help the offense. And that's not entirely his fault. I mean, the offense has been semi-bad with Gardner Minshew over there. And of course, the Colts still trying to figure things out. But so far, it's just been rough with Michael Pittman trying to get these receptions, but at the same time, it just hasn't really produced points yet. And hopefully that starts getting better.
I want to see them take more shots downfield. And hopefully with Anthony Richardson, they'll be able to do that a little bit more. But yeah, he just hasn't been able to get a lot of volume catches yet, So that was like his first one of the year. So definitely want to see him get more looks deep, because we know he can do that. We know he can make those catches. That's kind of where he thrives in a lot of ways. So want to see him get more 50-50 opportunities, because I really think no matter who it is, he has the ability to moss pretty much anybody.
You take Devontae over Tyreek Hill? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love both of them, but I would take, at this moment in time, wide receiver wise, there's not a single person that I would take over Tyreek Hill right now. Tyreek just gets open. I mean, there's just nothing else to say about it. He just gets open. And every single week, his worst stat line was 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown against New England. The other 2 weeks, he's combined for 21 catches for 300 something yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Outside of Downs, we really don't have speed. I mean, it's not true. I mean, Alec Pierce has speed. It's just he's so slow on his routes. And you wouldn't take Justin Jefferson? Justin's another good one. I mean, it's pretty close between him and Tyreek. I would definitely say that. Wesley Thomas with another $2 super chat. Zach Moss has been a beast carrying the ball. That he has. I think that's been the unsung hero, Cody, in all of this has been Zach Moss. I mean, it's been incredible to see how he has completely transformed the way that the Colts are able to move the ball simply all on his own. I mean, Zach Moss has been the offense for the Indianapolis Colts the last 2 weeks, and they're winning games because of him.
Yes. So Zach Moss, the last 2 weeks, he has had, 100% of the running back snaps, obviously, in week number 1. And then I think he had 30 compared to Trey Sermon's 5 or something like that. So he has had the lion's share of carries the last couple weeks. And he has just, he's not, he's nothing special. Like when it comes to, he doesn't have that X factor like JT does, where he's able to, break free and rush for a 60-yard touchdown. But he's just so darn consistent. He's so darn consistent. He's so difficult to take down between the tackles. He's a physical runner. He'll turn, what would be a tackle at the line of scrimmage into a 3-yard gain pretty easily. So Zach Moss has been a guy that, Derek, it's crazy because, going back to that Nyheim Hines trade, he kind of just got thrown in there with the package. I think it was like a 5th or 6th round pick in Zach Moss. And he has been incredible. He has been so good. A guy that really was a cast-off in Buffalo, he has just come in and just has been really, really good with the Colts. He was even really good last year when Jonathan Taylor was shut down for the year. So Zach Moss has definitely, I'll give him credit. He's had an opportunity. He's made the most of his opportunity. And I think the Colts love him. And obviously they do because they're giving him a bunch of the carries. And I'm really intrigued to see how they split this up once Jonathan Taylor's back to full, ready to go.
Yep. Hey, with the $5 super chat, AR needs to protect himself better. Luckily, he's young and can bounce back from injury quickly, but it's best to avoid it altogether. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the number one thing going forward.
Yep.
Hey, guys, did you see Pat McAfee today? He spoke with Shane. Yep, I did see that.
Did see it. Yep. That was cool.
Doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure that that will be a common occurrence.
Yeah. Especially if they keep winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, this is good. This is good. This has been a good stream. I've enjoyed this.
Over 200 people in here, too.
It's been consistent tonight.
It's been a good stream.
Nothing spectacular, but it's been solid. It's been a very Zach Moss-like stream tonight. You know, it's just been consistent. It's been consistent, and it's made the most of the opportunity, considering it was a last-minute decision here. So
when will Woods come back? Well, he was placed on IR, so he can come back after week 5.
After week 4, he can come back.
Yeah. I have no freaking idea how his injury's going. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't know because he literally missed the entire spring.
Yeah. So even if he's back practicing after the next game, it's not like he's going to be ready to go right away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the question you have about Jonathan Taylor too. You know, he didn't do anything in the spring either. So how good a football shape is he in? How long is it going to take for him? Because even though he might be healthy, how many weeks does he need? How many days does he need of consistent practice for you to feel good to trot him out there on a Sunday? I don't know.
Anything on AR yet? Well, obviously there's still him and Ryan Kelly are still in protocol from yesterday. Obviously they didn't have practice today, so we don't know how much progress he's made. We're going to find out here in the next couple days. My guess is you probably won't see Anthony Richardson practice tomorrow.
Probably not.
He might limited practice on Thursday. And then if he's out of protocol by Friday and is full practice and cleared, then I think we'll see Anthony Richardson for this game against the Rams. But if we only see him one time this week for practice and it's a limited participant, then I would say we probably don't see him again. Well, but I would presume that he'd be ready.
Shane's
we'll have to see.
He's progressing well on Pat McAfee's show. That's coach speak. So how much, what does that mean exactly? I don't know. But I guess that's good. So we'll see on that.
CPFT Pro Football Talk has the Colts as 14th in the power rankings.
It's pretty good.
Pretty dang good, man. The only team ahead of us is the Falcons. What is it with the Falcons, man? Falcons.
I don't know.
He doesn't have to practice tomorrow. He has to practice by Thursday, though.
Because they need 2 practices in before he's cleared, technically.
Yeah.
So Thursday, Friday.
Thursday and Friday would be great.
Should be back then if he can practice those days.
We'll just have to see. We have no idea. Shane Steichen's not letting any of that go. So
yeah, he's not telling anybody. He's pretty close to the vest in this, which makes sense. But yeah, man.
I'm looking at evaluating interior pass rushers this year, when it comes to difficulty of assignment here. I'm just looking at who's been the hardest to block so far this year. And Aaron Donald clearly is by far and away still above everyone else.
Yep.
DeForest Buckner is actually a top 10 has been the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th best interior defensive pass rusher so far this year. So that's been good.
Yep. Great to see. All right, man. Well, I don't really have anything else, so I feel good about this stream. Good, solid hour to 15, and we had a lot of people in here. We still do, so it's good stuff, man.
Yep, absolutely, man. Oh, yeah, I'm getting tired, but absolutely.
All right. Well, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. On your way out, if you would do us a favor, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you are up to date with all of our content. Like Derek said, some more content coming out tomorrow, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. But that will do it for this one, guys. Thanks so much. Hope you guys have a great night. And as always, guys, go Colts.